everyone, and welcome to another episode of Top 5 Saturdays Live with me, Chase Lee, and my co-host,
Ryan Sudfield.
That's fucking right. And hey, listen, if you're new to the show, welcome. Hopefully I didn't scare you off with my gigantic face if you're watching on YouTube. But this is a show where we take a look at the movies coming out on Friday, and we'll pick an actor, director, genre, what have you. We'll make a top 5 list honoring said movie of the weekend on Saturdays. Typically, we're recording this on Friday because, hey, why not? Our batting average is about 50-50, where half the time we'll record on the actual day the title suggests. But, hey, as long as we get the episode done, that's all that matters. And so the cool thing about the show is not only do we do our topics or whatever, we don't know each other's list, and it's live, so we have no idea what the hell's going to come out of our mouths. So before we get into our topic, a little housekeeping. If you're watching on YouTube and you want an audio-only version, link will be in the description below. But if you want to see our faces through this beautiful Google Hangout, then you can stay here on YouTube. But if you're listening on Spreaker and you want a video version, link in the description below. So before we get into our topic, Brian, how are we doing today?
I'm awesome. How are you?
At this point, Brian has seen Civil War, and I have not. So I hate him, but that's okay because, a couple days from now, I'll be sitting in that theater, probably just in awe and amazement throughout the entire movie, which I'm super excited for. So speaking of Civil War, Brian, what are we doing this week?
Originally, we were going to do political thrillers, but because the Russo brothers, the directors of Civil War, have claimed that Civil War is relevant to this particular type of film, we are honoring our favorite psychological thrillers.
That is right. And listen, when I was searching up psychological thrillers for this episode, there's so many to choose from. I wrote down like 30 of them, and I had to pick like the 5 ones that affected me the most in the moment. So it's just one of those things where I could backtrack, while I'm making the list. I don't fucking know. I might go, oh, wow, I should probably put that down there. I have no idea. I don't know what's going to happen. But as far as my 5 goes, I think it's set because the way I look at psychological thriller, now we have to make this episode explicit because psychological thrillers to me means a mind fuck. It means something that messes with your mind and kind of just really puts you in the experience, and it kind of plays with your mind and going back and forth between what's real and what's not. Especially those thrillers that suck you in so much, you think you're actually there and you're experiencing it with the main character. That could be a really great movie-going experience. But a psychological thriller to me is just something that fucks with your mind and just takes you on this journey and just ends with a powerful climax. That's exactly what all 5 of these movies, I believe, accomplish, is mindfuck, journey to an explosive climax. That is my psychological thriller. That's what I look for. So, Brian, when you think of psychological thriller, what do you look for?
Pretty much everything you just said. Like mindfuck, psychological tension, you feel for the character, you're haunted. And that's the thing, without spoiling it from Civil War, the psychological thriller element of this film is fantastic. And the thing is, the certain character that has to deal with this stuff, you just feel for them because you're just like, I don't know what's going to happen to this character. Is this character going to ever get better or not? And it's really intense. And yeah, psychological thrillers are, in my opinion, an excellent genre in film. They're honestly we have our action thrillers, we have our political thrillers stuff. I think psychological thrillers are the best kind of thrillers we've ever had because those are the most thrilling of any kind of thriller film we've ever had. And that's just my opinion, of course.
When they're done right, they could be one hell of a movie-going experience, but when they suck, they're pretty bad. So before we begin on our list, do I need to call a doctor or something? Because if you're watching on YouTube, Brian has half of a shield inside of his chest, and I don't know if I should call someone, alert someone. I don't know what to do. I'm kind of really confused right now. But it seems like Brian's okay with it. So, Brian, if you die in the middle of this episode, at least let's get to number 1. All right, so let's start out with number 5. And the way we're going to do this is we go 5, 5, 4, 4, 4, or 3, 3, 2, 2, 1, 1. And we'll do honorable mentions, dishonorable mentions, and then Brian will introduce next week's topic. So with that being said, without further ado, let's not waste any more fucking time. Brian, what is your number 5 favorite psychological thriller of all time? Before you answer that, I'm going to tell you guys this right now. I'm already betting on it. Brian and I are going to have all different answers. We're not going to have one single same answer.
We could. but I wouldn't be shocked if we don't.
There's no way. There's so many to pick from. Oh, you might have one, but I'm going to say that's like a 50% chance. So, Brian, number 5 for you.
Okay, my number 5 is Black Swan, and the thing is, for me, this was one of the first R-rated films I ever saw in the theater. I saw this when it came out in 2010, I was 12. It haunted me for like 2 days. Well, first of all,
this is when you were 12.
Why not?
Oh,
why not?
God.
Well, first of all, I'm gonna say this right now. The scene that makes all of us gentlemen happy, that haunted me, even though it was incredible. Secondly, Natalie Portman's character, she's trying to strive to the top in this ballet opera type of thing. She's gonna do the Swan show, which I forgot the name of. I was just watching this film a few months ago, and I love the quote on the back of here where it says that this is a wicked psychosexual thriller. I like that. Very clever by Daily Variety. Good job, whoever wrote that. And yeah, this is a fantastic film. It's my favorite. It's competing with The Wrestler as my favorite Darren Aronofsky film. This is, I think, one of the best lead actress performances I've seen in cinema history. Natalie Portman's incredible here. She's fantastic. You feel for her character. She wants to be the best in terms of this ballet competition, but then she gets overpowered by Mila Kunis's character, who's also fantastic in the film. Snubbed of an Oscar nomination, in my opinion. But it messes her up. The way the film ends, I'm not going to spoil it, but man, the way it ends, like Chase said, you have to have like a really enthralling climax, and this movie does have an enthralling climax. Black Swan, fantastic, haunted, beautiful film. I love it from beginning to end. One of my favorites of 2010. Black Swan, check it out. Natalie Portman, one of the best female performances of the decade so far. I think it's my second favorite female performance this decade so far, behind Brie Larson in Room.
That's a really good pick. And before we continue on, we will let you guys know we're not going to spoil anything, because I would hate for us to spoil any of these fucking movies that we're about to mention, because some of these are pretty damn powerful. So just like what Brian said, Black Swan, it is one of those roller coaster rides where I remember sitting in the theater and I experienced, and just like Brian said, at the very end, it's almost like a release. That climax is so powerful, it is a release. And then the credits just roll, and you're like, well, damn. That kind of just left an impression on me. And the cinematography is really well handled. The acting is really powerful. It feels like a really just kind of powerful, like indie drama thriller type of deal. And I didn't put it on my list, but I do have it on my honorable mention, so I will mention that. That is a recommendation for me. For me personally, people are going to look at me weird, but I think my favorite Aronofsky film to this date still is Requiem for a Dream, and then probably it's a tie between Wrestler and Black Swan. Like, everything he's done is just it touches to gold. So Aronofsky, like, keep doing your thing, man. Black Swan was definitely his last like really great one, because I will stand up for Noah. I think Noah's a fine film. I think it's pretty good, but Black Swan is that like amazing one where you go, hot damn, like when you're leaving the theater. I was in a packed house. I still remember this. There was like 300 people in the audience. I was sitting next to, oh God, I think it was my friend Caesar and his friend Marcus. Yeah, holy shit, I can't believe it. This was 6 fucking years ago. I remember we were sitting there, and like when the movie was done, we just kind of looked at each other like, that was definitely one of the best of the year, right? Yeah, we kind of shook our heads in agreement, and we're just like, yeah, I think it was. So, yeah, I totally agree with you. It's really, really great. It really does fuck with your head a little bit in terms of what is real and what is not, because there's a lot of scenes in that movie that are just like, this is what Natalie Portman's character is experiencing and stuff. This is kind of what I'm experiencing a little bit. So I like it quite a bit. I recommend it. All right, my number 5. I think this is the definition of a psychological thriller. And it was one of, I would say, one of the prominent ones, one of the first prominent psychological thrillers in my eyes. When I was in film school, I took a film theory class. All we did was just watch movies and talk about them, and maybe that was what sprung me to do what I'm doing here today. And a lot of the movies that she showed us were a bunch of Hitchcock movies. Now, I'm a huge fan of course, Psycho and Birds and stuff, and I really like Rope, though the seamless one take movie. I think that one's pretty interesting. Vertigo is also very good. But there's one that I classify as, I would say, I'm going to go ahead and say his best psychological thriller. It's got aspects of paranoia and isolation. And it just, you're on the edge of your seat the whole time while you're watching. You have no idea how it's going to end. And that's Rear Window. Good old Jimmy Stewart stuck in a wheelchair spying on his neighbors. And that's all I'm going to say. But the way the movie's shot, like I said, it's just really claustrophobic. It takes place in his apartment and stuff. And like I said, it's the paranoia of what he sees and what we're seeing as an audience. And we're like, holy shit, is this actually like true? Like, we should probably investigate into this, kind of like what he does. And like I said, I'm not going to spoil anything, but I think it's a really well-rounded thriller. It fucks with you. It makes you paranoid. It's a classic. There's nothing more I can say. Rear Window, Alfred Hitchcock. Well, bam. So, Brian, have you seen Rear Window?
So fucking good. Holy shit, that movie is dope as hell.
Yeah, it's one, like, that is the definition of a psychological thriller. If I had to pick one out of the 5, I'm gonna list here and say you should start out with this one for this genre, I pick Rear Window. To be honest with you, I think it's a perfect psychological thriller to introduce to anyone. So if you're a film lover and you haven't seen that one, please see that one. It's one probably definitely top 3 for me with Hitchcock. So all right, so Brian, let's move on to number 4.
My number 4 is Shutter Island, and this is, in my opinion, one of Martin Scorsese's most overlooked films. This film, like no one ever talks about, is one of the most different films that he's ever directed. It has elements of Cape Fear to it, which is another fantastic film in his filmography, but more people talk about that than this. No one talks about Shutter Island. Shutter Island should have gotten more love when it came out. It came out in 2010. Leonardo DiCaprio, I stand by this. And I know that The Revenant might just be the best performance he's ever given, and same goes for like Wolf of Wall Street. So a few people I know say that this might just be the best performance he's ever given. I wouldn't argue, because this is the most haunted performance, excluding The Revenant, that he's ever given. Mm-hmm. He's this U.S. Marshal going to this prison with Mark Ruffalo, and he goes, and the psych ward, and it's the stuff that he like imagines in his head is so fucked up. And then the big twist at the end, not going to spoil it, but the big twist, holy fucking hell. I had to watch this movie numerous times after I saw it, and it's like the quote on the front of the Blu-ray, a stunning masterpiece that requires and demands multiple viewings. I agree. Written by Ain't It Cool News. Thank you, Ain't It Cool News. Anyways, yeah, the thrilling element to it is that now this is a slow burn. It's definitely one of Scorsese's slowest films for sure, but it keeps you engaged. Like, I remember when the trailers came out and it was promoted to be some like horror film, and I remember like this was around the time when I started getting into movies, so I'm like, Scorsese's doing a horror film? I don't know how I feel about that. I love Scorsese, but I'm like, I don't know. But hey, and then I saw it and I'm like, this wasn't really a horror film. It did scare the crap out of me, but because of its psychological essence to it. There was a scene where he's walking around with the little lighter, and then that one guy like jumps towards the sail, and he's like telling him stuff, and it's fucking crazy. And one of the scenes that always gets to me, well, one of them is when he's walking into this like one, then that creepy old lady's like shh to him, like that scene gets ugh. And then another fantastic scene is when he's imagining him with his wife, who's played by Michelle Williams, and then she just evaporates into his arms. Brilliant VFX shot. Whoever did that, fantastic job. But Shutter Island, I think, is a criminally underrated film. I think it's also very overlooked. I think it should have gotten more award buzz, personally. It was one of my favorite films of 2010. I love Shutter Island. If you guys have not watched it, please check it out. It's one of Scorsese's most underrated films. That's my number 4.
I totally agree. It's definitely one of his most underrated, and no one ever talks about it. And I love Shutter Island. I have it. That was actually one of the first Scorsese movies I bought in my collection. Now, I saw all his films prior to Shutter Island, but I never bought any. And Shutter Island was the first one I bought because I loved it that much when I saw it in theaters. This is probably the closest we're ever going to get to a Scorsese horror film, and I'm okay with that. This is kind of like his one-time trying a different genre with the whole psychological thriller aspect, but having more of a creepy tone to it instead of like it is a mindfuck type of movie, but it's more, like I said, it's more on the horrific side and stuff. Now, he's done technically horror films with like Goodfellas and Casino with like the horrors of humanity, but this is more like, you know, it's got that creepy essence and stuff with the psych ward and whatnot. And I was working at the movie theater when this movie came out. I was an usher. I cleaned the theaters, and so anytime when a movie like this would come out, I specifically would tell my manager, I'm staying the fuck away from that theater because I don't want to be there to greet people when they come out because they just be fucking talking about the movie and the ending and stuff. I don't want to hear about that shit. So anytime when like a Shutter Island would come out, or I don't know, I'm trying to think of another movie with a great twist ending or something. I don't want to hear about that shit. I want to be surprised when I go in there. So I would specifically stay away because there was like Shutter Island was like playing it for a couple weeks. So I was like, okay, maybe it's died down. Maybe people won't talk about it. I stood next to the door and someone just like immediately exited the theater as if they were on fucking Broadway, and they just announced it like, oh my God, what a great ending that was. I really liked when this happened. I was like, no one's fucking listening to you. Can we just calm that shit down, please? But no, it's like, can you at least like pass the theater and like chat in the bathroom or something? Like that shit annoys me. But anyways, I really like Shutter Island quite a bit. It's a Scorsese film that we're probably never going to get again in terms of like tone and genre and stuff. So I'm glad that we got it. It's a great one. Can't really argue against it. So my number 4, I'm going to go with one that's probably actually higher on Brian's list. This is probably the only one we're going to have in common if he's got it on his list. Number 4, I'm going to go with the first Fincher film I saw, Seven. This, you want to talk about a great like murder mystery, suspense, psychological thriller. It's a bunch of stuff. But this movie, it takes you along with these detectives. You're trying to figure out who the fuck is doing all these killings and stuff based on the 7 deadly sins. And it just kind of explodes with that climax. Is what we're talking about. In that fucking field with Brad Pitt, a box, and Kevin Spacey is the villain. That's all I'm going to say. But it just kind of leaves you speechless. Like, what in the fuck just happened? But when it does happen, you're like, damn, that was actually really smart because it took me off guard. So it's really well shot. It's gritty. It's dark. It feels like a really dark, kind of graphic murder mystery novel. It's acted well from Morgan Freeman and Brad Pitt and Kevin Spacey as always. This was actually a role with his I would say it's the prequel to Frank Underwood, or the sequel to Frank Underwood's character, him as the president. So take that for what you will. Yeah, no, everyone does a great job. It's Fincher at his best. It's one of his earliest. And anytime when someone says they haven't seen it, I'm like, yeah, we got to watch Seven. And it usually kind of blows their mind. And I never get tired of watching it. And that's a really great movie that kind of messes with your mind in terms of following this murder and stuff, trying to just figure out who did it and stuff. It's a great whodunit, but it also kind of fucks with you a little bit. So, yeah, Seven's my number 4. So, Brian, let me see if I'm correct, ladies and gentlemen. Brian, would you like to talk about this one?
I'm going to pass for sure.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the one that is on there. So we will have this one in common, and that is it, because I'm looking at my top 3. There's no fucking way he's got those on there. All right, so, all right, Brian, come at me, bro. What's number 3?
Okay, I don't really need to explain much when it comes to my number 3. All you have to do is look at the picture that I'm about to show you, and then you'll just know, like, why it's this.
Gotcha.
There we go. Number 3, Taxi Driver. Martin Scorsese's, the film that definitely got him on the map. Yes, Mean Streets came out before this, but Taxi Driver was the biggest movie that got him on the map. Now, listen, I'm not, like, in love with it. I will say that I love this film. I do, but it's not, like, one of my favorite Scorsese films. I will always say that my favorite Scorsese film is Goodfellas, and also that's my favorite film ever made, period. But Taxi Driver was one of the first films that I saw from him, and I remember I was just enthralled by it because it started off very, like, kind of happy and stuff. Because, yeah, De Niro's character, Travis Bickle, is a taxi driver in the city. As you can tell, it's just called Taxi Driver, obviously. And then, like, yeah, he's a war hero. He's psychologically fucked up from the war and stuff. And then by the end of the movie, he shaves off half his head and he becomes a fucking maniac. Like, I don't really have to say much about this movie because I think we talked about this movie quite a bit on our De Niro episode, and Yeah, De Niro's fantastic in the film as his Jodie Foster playing a young prostitute. By the way, I prefer older Jodie Foster over like 15-year-old Jodie Foster. I'm sorry. No. Well, I recently saw an interview with her. She was promoting Money Monster, which looks great, by the way. And she actually looks good. Maybe it was the makeup that day. I don't fucking know. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. I'm sorry, Senor Lee, but I mean, who knows? Yeah, Taxi Driver. Great film. Love it from beginning to end. Definitely one of Scorsese's best. Great use of psychological mindfucks. Not as big of a mindfuck as the other films we just mentioned, but yeah, Taxi Driver, great film. Love it. And maybe all right, fine. I take back what I said about Jodie Foster. By younger Jodie Foster, I mean like Silence of the Lambs Jodie Foster, not really much Taxi Drivers Jodie Foster. All right, I'm done.
That is correct. We don't want to get in trouble here. All right, so no, Taxi Driver is a great one because the main character, played by Robert De Niro, he's kind of a little fucked up himself, and he kind of sees the world as a shithole. And it's pretty amazing to see him kind of go along this journey, and we're following him, and he's just seeing the world as it is in front of him, but he's also kind of imagining it on how he would like to take care of some certain things in the movie and stuff. And he's just a very interesting character. He's a great character study and whatnot. So yeah, and he actually, a little fun fact, he actually drove a taxi for a little while to prepare for the role. So he definitely Daniel Day-Lewis did for a little bit. That is a great pick. My number three and my number two are psychological romance thrillers. Interesting. So I was like, oh, let's throw something a little different in there, kind of mix it up a little bit. But I still consider them as psychological thriller as anything else on my list. So just because they have a romance aspect to it doesn't mean anything. My number three, I'm going to go with a French film. Oui, oui. When I first saw this, I was kind of blown away on just the way it was told, the way it was edited, put together, and the fact that the director was he was brutal with reality. He kind of threw it in your face, and he made you fucking watch this shit. And it kind of gets under your skin, and it's just really kind of backwards, tense thriller that does fuck with your mind a little bit. And the thing is about this movie, when it reaches at the end, it plays at the beginning of the movie. So you start out with the end of the movie and you end with the beginning. So when you see the end of the movie, which is technically the beginning, everything that you just saw, there's something that happens inside of you where like, holy shit. Like I feel for the main character so much. It's quite disturbing. I'm going to go with Irreversible. Now, if you guys have not know what this movie is, I do not recommend it to anyone that does not like graphic stuff because there's some graphic shit in this. It's got Monica Bellucci and then Vincent Cassel, who is in Black Swan. They were actually married for a little bit. A little fun fact. And this is the movie. Vincent Cassel is looking for a specific person that did something to Monica's character. That's all I'm going to say. And we start out with him looking for that guy. And at first you're like, what's going on? But as the movie plays out, like I told you, it plays backwards. It's kind of like a reverse emotional thing. And it's actually quite intriguing. And it does fuck with your head. A reverse emotional like journey is pretty fucked up. And the fact that the director delivered it so well with the acting and cinematography, and the fact that he puts this shit in front of your face and is like, this is reality. This is society at its worst. This is what fucking happens. There you go. And I actually blind bought it because I heard so many good things about it that when I went to a Half Price Books, I saw it in the foreign film section. I was like, I'm getting this shit. So I bought it for like $5. Is it going to last in my collection if I ever get like married or something? I don't fucking know because it's one of those movies where like not everyone wants to watch that. Even on the DVD cover, it says like warning contains graphic sexual stuff and violence. So regardless of what happens to my future, that movie may be like stored away in storage for a long time because it is a very hard movie to watch, but there's just something really beautiful about it and just something so emotionally invested about it. It's different and unique because it's told backwards and stuff. So that's my number 3 pick. Brian, have you seen Irreversible, and would you ever want to?
Never heard of it until now. I'm curious about it for sure. See, I'm not really the foreign film guy to begin with. I'm not really a fan of watching them. I don't hate them, but I'm just not like the biggest foreign film enthusiast, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's a pretty dope looking cover. And on the spine of it, it says drama. No, Lionsgate, this is not a drama. I guess it's like a psychological romance drama thriller. Anyways, I classify it as one. So, yeah, it's hey, Eber and Robert gave it 2 thumbs up, ladies and gentlemen. Bam. So you know it's fucking legit. All right. So, all right, that is my number 3. Guys, we're getting down into our top 2. Now, the only clues I have this week is that Brian has 7 on there somewhere. I gotta assume it's his number 1. So, Brian, what's your number 2?
When you said that you were going to put a film that took place in the weird particular order, I'm surprised you didn't put Memento on your list because that's my number 2.
Okay. Hey,
I'm surprised, honestly.
Look, I'll flash my list really fast. Boom. You see all that writing? That's all the fucking titles I put on here for this week. I had to whittle it down to 5. Fuck me, right? I'm sorry. So, no, Memento is a great pick. So, convince me otherwise, Brian.
I watched this film for the first time last year in my Lynn film class where we would just watch films and then analyze them and stuff. This was a film that everyone in my class was into. And honestly, I knew I would be into it because I've seen clips from it. I had never seen the full thing because, I'm a Nolan fanatic. I probably should have seen it before, but then again, I just never got around to seeing it because it was never on TV. I couldn't find it in any stores. It's nowhere to be found in New Jersey because New Jersey sucks. Anyways, yeah, Memento was just so special because of the way it was told, obviously being told backwards, starting with the movie's ending and then ending with the movie's beginning. It wasn't Nolan's directorial debut, but it was his first well-known film that he directed because he made some film called Fallen before, which is still the only Nolan film I have not seen. Everyone praises this movie enough. Oh yeah, one thing. A question. Why are they remaking this? I don't fucking know. It's pissing me off. Anyway, yeah, the psychological thriller essence, you just feel bad for Guy Pearce's character. And he has to go through so much he loses his memory, just keep on forgetting everything, short-term memory. It honestly sucks. But hey, you go on this journey with this character and it's honestly fantastic. This is honestly, it might just be my favorite Nolan film that isn't in the Dark Knight trilogy. I really adore Memento. It's the only psychological thriller in my top 5 that I do not have on Blu-ray. By the way, speaking of Taxi Driver on Digibook, fucking beautiful. Love it. Mwah. Anyway, yeah, Memento, fantastic film. Definitely creepy. Definitely fantastic. Requires multiple viewings. If you only watch it once, you might not fully appreciate that much. I've seen it now at least 3 times, and I appreciate it way more. I already appreciated the first time, but I appreciate it way more after the 3rd viewing. So yeah, Memento, my number 2.
I can't argue against that. Memento is just, it's an instant classic as soon as you watch it. Once you watch it, dude, I gotta rewatch that again, and I gotta rewatch it again and again and again to figure out how in the hell Nolan accomplished this movie. Because can you imagine if you're sitting in that audience for the very first time and this movie plays, because it was at a festival, that's where it premiered. You're sitting there looking at the person next to you what just happened? I don't, that's a movie that does its job in terms of its genre and stuff. And so, yeah, Memento is a really great one. My favorite from Nolan,
I already know what it is, but
I'm going to have to say The Prestige still because I'm a sucker for magic. All right. So I already know Brian's number 1. So we don't need to do all that build up there. But for my number 2, I'm going to go with another psychological romance thriller. And
is it foreign?
No.
Okay.
All right. So I'm sorry, Brian, that the foreign film scared you. So we're going back to America now. This one plays more on multiple personality disorder, and it's like a weird, surreal dream, but you're on the edge of your seat because you're like, I don't know what's going to happen, and all these weird things are just kind of fucking with you. It's like watching a vivid dream. And to this day, it is one of my favorite films of all time. I've seen this movie a million times, and every time when someone hasn't seen it, I usually like to watch it with them. And then when it's done, they can't even discuss it afterwards. They have to wait like a whole day to like come back at me on what they thought everything meant. I've had to look up certain theories just to see how weird and kooky people can get on IMDb and stuff. But for my number 2, for a good psychological romance thriller starring the very beautiful Naomi Watts, I'm going with Mulholland Drive. And this is a doozy, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, just like Irreversible, this movie's not for everyone. I get that. But it is like watching, like I said, like this really vivid, surreal, kind of creepy nightmare, and you're kind of just experiencing it, and it seems real. Like you're watching this like, oh my God, like what's fucking real, what's not. Like you don't even know at this point. The lines are so blurred. You're just kind of going along with the journey and stuff. And once again, it kind of ends on a really good climax. But just the way it's told and just the way it's shot, and Naomi Watts, and it's just David Lynch at his best. Like it's got to be, I don't know. Blue Velvet's good. Twin Peaks will always have like a special place in my heart. Elephant Man's great. Lynch has done a lot of good stuff, but I think Mulholland Drive is probably my favorite. I love it to death. It's just one of those movies that you watch and you get to discuss it. It's just one of those things like, what did this scene mean? Okay, how did that? What did that mean for this specific character, and how all this stuff? What do these colors mean? The colors play a prominent role in this movie. It's just a great, just surreal experience. I highly suggest it. I cannot talk about this more enough. Mulholland Drive is one of my favorites of all time. So, Brian, you look at me crazy every time I bring this movie up in any capacity of our show. So, when are you ever going to watch this movie? And
I have seen it. It just hurts my head every time I think about it. Like it hurts. It hurts my head. And to you, like you said that this might be your favorite David Lynch film. My favorite is actually Eraserhead. That's my personal favorite David Lynch film.
Okay. Yeah, I can't argue.
No qualms with people saying Mulholland is their favorite one. No qualms with that whatsoever. I do need to watch it again. I've only seen it once. Like I said, it hurt my head. Maybe I had a headache that day. I don't really remember. That was like 5 months ago when I watched it for the first time. Do need to watch it again, but I'm kind of scared to watch it again. And yeah, it's not even like a horror movie.
Don't be scared now.
Don't be scared now. It's okay. Everything's gonna be okay.
Don't be scared now. No, I think since you have more an appreciation for film now, I would say watch it and just give this a second chance and kind of just pick it apart. Like that's what's cool about Lynch's films and like Cronenberg's films. They make you fucking think, and I love that shit. Yes, and do I like mindless entertainment sometimes? Of course I do. But I love thrillers and these type of surreal movies that make you think a little bit about how certain scenes were composed and shot, and why they're that way, and why the director put it in there and stuff. It's genius. It's genius filmmaking. So, all right. So let's move on to our number 1 spots. Now I already know Brian's, and believe it or not, you guys ready for this? Brian and I have different number 1s. However, both of our number 1s are done by the same director.
Oh.
So, Brian knows where I'm going with this, and people are going to get
man. Angry. Fuck.
Brian, you sit your fucking ass down. I'll explain myself when I get to it, but you are up first. Why is 7 your favorite psychological thriller of all time? Did you see that fucking move he did? He fucking whipped it as if he was, some fucking yutz on stage, and it fell out of his hand. It was genius. You missed it. All right, so Brian, explain.
Yes. Another film I watched in my London film class, everyone analyzed this. It was fucking fantastic. Like you said, everything you said. What's in the box? Literally.
What's in the box? What's in the fucking box?
Yeah. Oh.
I just scared my dog.
When Kevin Spacey just says, oh. Just that, oh. Like just that snicker. Oh my fucking God. Oh my God. By the way, this came out the same year as Usual Suspects, so it was considered the best year for Kevin Spacey. So yeah, Pretty dope. Yeah, Seven is one of my favorite films ever made. I absolutely adore this film. It's not my favorite Fincher film. I will say, spoiler, my favorite David Fincher film is The Social Network, and this is number 2 for me. Then I like about Seven, and I just love the two different aspects of these cops. Brad Pitt is now moving. Now he's a new cop in this area, and Morgan Freeman is now a soon-to-be retired cop. This is going to be his last case, and it's something interesting. The old and young teaming up. It's fantastic. Yeah, the whole psychological aspect of the Seven Deadly Sins involved. It's insane. One other scene, pretty much everything with Kevin Spacey just scares the living fuck out of me. When he walks into the police station with his hands up, covered in blood, it scares the fuck out of me. I'm just like, what the fuck is this? I'm like, what? What is this?
He's a creepy asshole. That's what he is in the movie.
He is a creepy asshole, but in real life he is a lovable teddy bear. Anyways,
except when he's on House of Cards and then he's a creepy asshole.
That's why I said in real life he is a lovable teddy bear. Yes, anyways, yeah, this David Fincher is the king of psychological thrillers in my eyes. I mean, he's made pretty much all of the films he's done except for The Social Network,
Benjamin Button,
and that's it. Are all yeah, that's every other film he's ever done is a psychological thriller. If you want to call Girl with the Dragon Tattoo a psychological thriller, that, in my opinion, is one to me. And, Seven, fantastic film, one of my favorites of all time, my favorite psychological thriller. I just love it so much. And according to Peter Travers of the Rolling Stone magazine, yeah, I'm going to read reviews off the back of Blu-rays. Deal with it, people. This is a nerve-jangling thriller with a gut-wrenching climax. There we go. Gut-wrenching climax. Mm-hmm. Boom. Seven, my number 1. Check it out. See it. Please. Please see it. Just please.
Yeah, if you haven't seen a David Fincher movie, I would say either start out with Fight Club or Seven. That's usually what everyone started out with, and I would be okay with either or. And it kind of gets you in his mindset a little bit, and his style and his tone and everything. And if you like one of those movies when you watch it, then watch the rest of them, and you'll be quite surprised about his film collection, except for Alien 3. All right, so like I said, we have the same director. Little backstory on this. I never saw this movie before, and I heard it was one of the best movies with a kind of jaw-dropping plot twist ever in a movie. So I was like, okay, I'm intrigued. So a year later, I didn't really do anything about it. And when I was at Walmart one time, they had it for $5. It was in their $5 bin. I was like, you know what? I'll take the gamble. If it's not good, it'll complete my Fincher collection. I watched it, and it plays out like a thriller. It's really just it's fast-paced, and it kind of gets you engaged. And you're like, I don't know what's going on, but I'm really just intrigued about what's happening. And I want to see how this ends. It is one of those movies when you get hooked, you want to know how it's going to end. And as you're watching it, you can see yourself piecing together in your head. Well, guess what? Someone came in, they blew all over your puzzle pieces, and it flew all over on the floor, and now you just fucking hate that person now. That's what that movie does. And when the ending happens, you're like, I would have never guessed that in a million years. But I like it. It's a pretty damn good twist. My number 1 favorite psychological thriller, because it is a thriller from start to finish, and that mind fuck at the very end is a great psychological aspect to it. My number 1 is The Game. If you guys have not seen this movie, I will only say this. Directed by David Fincher, starring Michael Douglas. That's all you need to know. Because if I say any more, I'm going to feel like I'm going to spoil something. I'm going to ruin it for someone. I don't want to do that. It is one of those movies you need to watch. And listen, I am fully aware that there's a lot of fucking people that hate this movie because of the twist. I actually kind of liked it because it threw me off guard. And I was like all that tension was there for the whole hour and a half or whatever. And then the climax happens and it kind of just it just explodes in front of your face. You're like, wow, all that tension was just gone. But I liked it because it was kind of like a shift. Like I said, if I say any more, no, but Brian rolled his eyes. So, Brian, I would like to put you on the stand for a little bit. Why do you hate life, and why do you hate the game?
I don't hate any David Fincher film except for Alien 3. No, I'm just surprised you picked the game, because when you talked about a David Fincher film being the thriller in a way,
Oh,
and
you're talking
having
about Zodiac.
no, I thought you were talking about Fight Club.
Oh shit! Well,
I thought you were talking about Fight Club.
No, I think the game is the perfect representation, just like Rear Window.
No, it is. But I honestly thought you were talking about Fight Club, because in my opinion, Fight Club has one of the biggest twists in, like, the top 5 biggest twists of any film ever.
True. When Fight Club happens, that twist is very, like, surprising. But there's something about the game to where when the twist happens, you had no fucking clue that was going to come your way. Like I said, you're sitting there piecing it together, and you still couldn't come up with it. And like I said, this was really hard. But just like Rear Window, because I'm going to compare it to Rear Window. If you guys want to get fucking pissed, go ahead and comment down below on how much of an asshat I am. In terms of like the way it is executed in the psychological thriller subgenre, it is executed very, very well. Like I said, the game has a lot of similar like aspects about Rear Window in terms of the paranoia, and you have no idea what's coming around the corner and stuff. And that's what Michael Douglas's character is feeling and stuff. And you're kind of on this journey with him. You're like, dude, I'm like you. We need to figure this shit out, Mr. Douglas. So that is probably my favorite psychological thriller, just because of how unique it was, and just the ending in general, and how it just kind of twists itself on its head. And I loved it. So, I know a lot of people are going to be angry. They'll be like, you put fucking game over Rear Window, you son of a bitch. It's okay. I'm not going to call the cops. All right. So, this week is actually really good. I recommend all these. These are all fantastic films. Listen, psychological thrillers could be like a rare dime a dozen. If like you find one and like no one really knows about it, and you can hold it and cherish it and be like, no one really knows. This is a very underground one. And then when they try too hard, they can be really cheesy and corny. There's a lot of them out there, but these are our top 5. So before we get into our honorable mentions, what are you guys' top 5 favorite psychological thrillers? Comment in the place above my face and let me know. And speaking of ones that didn't make the list, let's do it. Honorable mentions, son. All right, this whole list, yeah, I'm going to read by them real fast. Shutter Island, Exam. I've seen this movie 4 times, by the way. Don't ask me why, but I love it. It's on Netflix. It's one of those like really smaller type of thrillers. Check it out. Exam. Mr. Brooks, Black Swan, Saw, because that is a psychological thriller. I don't consider those movies horror films at all. It's one of my favorite franchises, so fuck off. Butterfly Effect, The Strangers, 1 Hour Photo, Frailty, Rosemary's Baby, Silence of the Lambs, Old Boy, the old one, not the Spike Lee one. The Shining, Zodiac, The Experiment, which is a remake off of the German Experiment. I only saw the American version, but I really liked it a lot. Stanford Prison Experiment, which is kind of like an iteration of The Experiment. That one's a really great one. Videodrome, Cronenberg, Eyes Wide Shut, and Blue Velvet. So I like to get weird and creepy with my psychological thrillers, as you can see, but I'm okay with that. Brian, what barely skipped your list?
Pretty much most of the films that you brought up, but I only have 7. I only wrote down 7 honorable mentions because I couldn't really think of as many as like Donnie Darko, The Sixth Sense, Silence of the Lambs, Fight Club, Prisoners, American Psycho. I'm gonna mention Civil War, even though it's not a straight up psychological thriller, and Cape Fear I'll bring up too. And yeah, the only director that really needs to make a psychological thriller is Spielberg. Spielberg, get on that. Make a psychological thriller. Just you take it easy with the family stuff and make a psychological thriller. Like, come on, man.
Would you count Schindler's List or Munich as a psychological thriller? Because it does kind of fuck with your emotions quite a bit.
Yeah, but not like in a kind of like a mindfuck way. Like the films that we brought up, like Schindler's List doesn't really have like any mindfuck moments. Like, yeah, it has heartbreaking moments, but it doesn't have any like mindfuck. Like, oh, what the fuck just happened? I'm so confused right now. I don't get this at all. Like, it doesn't. Munich doesn't do that year. Although I will say that Munich definitely has a lot of thrilling elements to it, like a more thriller. I think Munich is a good example of a spy thriller than just a plain generic drama. So I mean, meh.
So I would say up until this recording, Munich is probably the closest he's done so far. So I agree with that. Spielberg, get on that shit. Hey, maybe Ready Player One will be like a weird 80s psychological thriller. Who fucking knows? I didn't read the book.
I wouldn't mind that.
All right, so Dishonorable Mentions. I didn't write any down because I couldn't find any that I've either seen or just I've forgotten about. The only psychological thrillers that I can think of, and I don't know if Brian agrees with me, it's all those damn thrillers that are so generic and so basic. It feels like they came out of fucking Lifetime in like 1993. I'm trying to think of like the movie. Do you remember the movie Twisted with like Ashley Judd and like Samuel L. Jackson?
Nope.
It's movies
probably came out before my time. Probably came out when I was a little infant boy.
It's movies like that are like really just, they're really basic and there's really nothing to them, and they try to be really hard psychological thrillers, but it's come out very basic and 90s-ish. And I forgot to mention Identity with John Cusack. That's a great psychological thriller.
I've not seen that. Want to see that?
Yeah, check it out. But yeah, I can't think of any specific dishonorable mentions because I didn't look any of them up. But it's all those ones that are just basic and just don't really try anything new. That's why I like movies like Mulholland Drive and Irreversible, and here, hell, even Seven in the Game. Like, they all try something different and something new. It feels fresh and it feels exciting, and it's not like one of those basic like murder mystery thrillers. It's so basic and oh shit, the plot twist, I saw it a mile away like an hour ago. No.
Yeah.
So
yeah, one that's coming out like I think later this year that looks really, really shitty is the one that's with Morris Chestnut and the pregnant woman. Do you know which one I'm talking about? Did you see that trailer? No. Oh, good. Stay away. Just stay away from that. Looks pretty bad.
Perfect. I'm glad you brought that up. Psychological thrillers. That shitty Beyonce movie, Obsessed. That's one of them. Movies like No Good Deed. Even though I thought that one was kind of okay.
No Good Deed was actually not too bad, but it was
okay. Yeah, it was okay. The one that came out last year. God, what was it?
The one with Michael Ealy?
Yeah, that
The Perfect Guy.
Yeah, The Perfect Guy. Something like that. It looks basic. The trailers look generic. It's not compelling. That's what I really like about The Gift, because that's more of a psychological thriller.
Great example. Great fucking film. Great film.
Because I'm not going to lie, that one looked really basic. But the reviews started coming out and people started talking about it. I was like, let me check this out. The Perfect Guy, no one was talking about. I got shitty reviews and I was like, okay, it's one of those generic ones. And is that my fault for judging a book by its cover? Probably. So I sound like a hypocrite. But The Gift was getting so much positive buzz, I was actually perplexed. So I was like, let me give this a chance. But if it looks generic like the other 20 that came before it just last year, I'm not going to pay hard-earned money to see it. You have to have something with that movie that will make me get out of my house to go see it and pay for it. And that's what The Gift did because of the positive word of mouth. I remember when I talked to my fellow critic friend Susan. I was asking her about The Gift because she saw it and she rated it really high. And I was like, Susan, what are you doing? Like, is this movie that good? And she was like, yeah, it's like one of the best thrillers I've seen in quite some time. I was like, well, shit. I got to see it now. Those trailers were cut together horribly. For The Perfect Guy, the trailers looked awful. I was like, I'm not going to see that. And then I talked to someone that did see it, and he was like, it was whatever, man. It's just like every other one of them. It's like someone's crazy, and it's like a ripoff of Fatal Attraction and shit. And it's like, I get it, man. Like, it does look generic. So I'm not crazy. So yeah, I do sound like a little bit of a hypocrite. I apologize, but The Gift's trailers were terrible. It looked like a generic, like little PG-13 thriller, even though it was rated R. But when people started talking about it, it engaged me more to see it. So if The Perfect Guy actually got good reviews, I would have fucking saw it. But the trailers were cut horribly. I didn't want to see it. So it's all about that marketing, man.
Agree.
When people say you shouldn't judge it by the trailer, you kind of should. As prime example, Batman v Superman. I like the movie quite a bit, but let's face it, that second fucking trailer pretty much ruined any anticipation or any surprises throughout the entire movie. Is that my fault for watching it? Sure, but I do want to watch every single piece of marketing available besides clips. I don't like watching clips online, just trailers. But I like watching trailers of movies, even if they come out by the third or fourth one, because I just want to see how they're marketing this thing and does it get me amped to see it and stuff. And I had no idea they were going to drop that bombshell. Maybe that's my fault for jumping into it. So, like I said, I sound like a hypocrite, but I go back and forth on it. But I will admit that The Gift and The Perfect Guys trailers were both cut very badly to where I didn't really want to see it unless that incentive was there. So, Brian, there's your rant for the week. So, anything to add to that?
Well, I have one dishonorable mention. Do you remember Hide and Seek with Robert De Niro?
Oh yeah, that one was like I'm gonna go ahead. I'm not gonna spoil it, but I'm just gonna say it deals with multiple personality disorder. And when it happens, you're like, okay, like
yeah, it's like bleh, whatever. But my worst, if you remember this movie and if you saw it when it came out, I feel so sorry for you. My worst is the number 23 with Jim Carrey. That film had a lot of potential because Jim Carrey at that time, he had already done Eternal Sunshine. He had done a few dramas. And people were like, hey, this guy can't just do, not only can do comedy, he could do some serious shit. So when they announced that he was going to be in this psychological horror thriller Majiggity Madooey movie, people were like, oh my God, this could actually be something special. And it was the worst fucking thing I think I've ever saw in my life. It made me sleep. I wanted to go to sleep. He was fantastic in the film. He was incredible in it, but the film was so bogged down by fucking stupid Joel Schumacher's direction that the only good film that guy has ever made, in my eyes, is Phone Booth with Colin Farrell. Which
Phone Booth is very, very good. I'll give you that. But I'm about to strike back at you when you finish.
But number 23, well, I mean, when it came out, I was like 8. So granted, I was really young. I saw it when I was like 13. It was really horrible, and I feel bad for Jim Carrey being in a film like that because, like I said, he wanted to do something different, and it wasn't his fault that the movie was bad. You can't blame the actor. Like, Jim Carrey was fine in the film. He was serviceable, but because of the way the film was done, it just turned into shit. And now because of that, he'll probably never do a film like this ever again, which makes me upset because I like to see him outside of his comedies, although I love seeing him in comedies. So yeah, number 23 is my worst psychological thriller.
No fucking way. Okay. Will I agree that it's not the best one in the world? Yeah, I'll agree with that. But I like it quite a bit. And I've never understood like the severe hatred for it. Even when the twist happened, yeah, I wasn't really like blown away by it, but I was like, that was nice. Like, I think what sold me on the movie the most was Jim Carrey's acting because he really bought into the role as what was the name he was going, Fingerling or whatever.
Don't remember. Saw the movie like 5 years ago. Don't remember. Like I said, he was fantastic in the film. I cared about his character, but the whole film, I don't know why I wasn't into. I feel like it had a lot of potential, but I think with Schumacher directing, I think they could have given it to someone better. I'm just not really a big Schumacher fan to begin with. I don't like what he did with the Batman films. I don't know what else the guy directed. I mean, Phantom of the Opera is a weird one, even though I love musicals, but that one's a weird. Well, I mean, that's meant to be weird because that musical is weird. But The Client's a good film. I like The Client, but like, yeah, The Client and Phone Booth are the only films of his that I could actually write. I love Phone Booth. I think that's also
great. I think
another great thriller, not a psychological thriller, but more of just a thriller.
No, I would consider that a psychological thriller. It deals a lot with paranoia because this is a guy that's stuck in this phone booth and the person on the other line is like, I'm gonna fucking kill you if you move. So no, Phone Booth is a great one. That one's extremely underrated, and no one ever likes talking about that one. I like it quite a bit, but I'm not going to sit here and like, get on my high horse like I normally do. I'm going to step down for a little bit and be like, listen, I enjoyed the number 23 quite a bit. I just don't understand the hatred so much. Like I understand like not liking it, but dude, people fucking loathe that movie. So let's just take a step back.
I've seen worse. I've seen worse films than this. So, I mean, just the number 23 is the only extremely terrible psychological thriller that I've seen. Well, yeah, Hide and Seek is not a good one either, but I mean, maybe there'll be another one coming out in the future, like that one with Morris Chestnut that looks like the sequel to The Perfect Guy, which looks horrible. And yeah.
Well, to each his own, and that's the great thing about movies, guys. It is all subjective, and I like the number 23. Is there anyone out there that's listening or watching this episode that likes that movie as well? Please let me know that I'm not the only one. And if you fucking hate it, please blast me on the internet. I'm used to it. So, all right. So let's get into that is this week's episode. But before we close out, Brian, what are we doing next week?
Next week, we are honoring one of the top actors in the industry. By the way, his birthday was today. This Friday, we are honoring Academy Award winner, actor, writer, director, George Clooney, the sexiest man alive. Listen, I'm going to say this right now before Chase just, gives his brief little thoughts on the Coonster. The Clooney is a good-looking man. I don't know how he still looks good with that fucking gray hair. I don't get it. The guy doesn't age. He looks the exact same as he did like 20 years ago when he was on ER. How do I know that? Because I know my shit. And also, I have parents who watched ER. So, I mean, yeah.
Also, we can look up stuff on IMDb pretty well.
Exactly, that too. So, yeah, I'm really excited to honor George Clooney. Money Monster comes out next week. I'm looking forward to the film. I'm really hoping it's good. Yeah, that's who we're honoring next week. Yeah,
George Clooney, shit, I'm not going to disagree with you. I'm straight as an arrow, but if I had to pick some good-looking gentlemen in Hollywood, I'd go with Clooney and, like, probably the pitster with Mr. Brad Pitt. I'd probably go DiCaprio, maybe McConaughey. Like, there's a lot of good-looking dudes in Hollywood, and Clooney's he's the king. There's a reason why he's gone out with so many models, and now he's actually nailed down with his wife now, and he's actually married, which is crazy to think about. It's like, sorry, ladies, close up your water slides. He is off the market. So, yeah, no, George Clooney should be really fun. And, yeah, I mean, there's really nothing more to say. He's definitely a legend in these parts. So that's what we're doing next week is top 5 George Clooney films in honor of Money Monster, which I'm looking forward to the film as well. Yeah, there's nothing more to say. So, Brian, where can the people find you online?
Twitter at Brian98 and on YouTube at Brian Suffield.
And I just want to let you guys know you can follow me at Chase Lee, at Real Chase Lee or whatever. That water slide joke I heard on what was it? I think it was on Movie Fights or like the Schmoes Know podcast. It was like the best analogy to like a Brad Pitt or like a George Clooney. Women that are like water slides. It's funny stuff. But yeah, if you want to follow me on stuff, Real Chase Lee, all that jazz. So next week on Top 5 Saturdays Live is George Clooney. This week was psychological thrillers. My mind is fucked up. I probably want to watch one of these right now. So we'll see you guys next week. I'm Chase Lee.
I'm Brian Suffield.
That's fucking right. And the intro and outro music is done by my friends band Fervent Roze. Check them out. They have an album dropping pretty damn soon. So peace out, guys. Have a good weekend and Top 5. Rock on. Oh, man. I want to watch Mulholland Drive again. I've seen the movie so many times. See you guys later.